You know, I'm going to sound a little bit old here, but it is just unbelievable how morally depraved the United States of America has become, or rather, many of the people in our country. It's crazy. Everything just seems to be based on pure selfishness and nothing else, even if it means completely foregoing your obligations to living in a decent society. Folks, you'll see what I mean right now because Charlie exposes just how bad it is getting. So we're going to get right into it, but first, do me a big favor here, like our video and share it around so we can keep bringing you all this great hard-hitting content. And for those of you who subscribe and are coming back, we really appreciate you. As always, folks, I'm your host, Darian, and this is Resist the Mainstream.
I don't believe that we could use Christianity as a good moral basis for certain laws, considering that historically speaking, Christianity has committed many atrocities. I mean, the Christian Crusades killed many people, and they destroyed a lot of our written texts that didn't agree with Christian points, like, for example, the works of Sappho.
The works of what?
Sappho.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, anyways, I understand that this is Catholicism, but also the schools in Canada that abused many Native American people. I just don't see how we could argue that Christianity is the great moral authority that you're saying it is for making these laws when arguably they've done a lot of horrible things.
What moral code do you live by?
I'm a Buddhist, so I mean...
So it's all about yourself?
No, it's just about being... Yeah. Well, I guess you could say that. But
I know Buddhism. So let's play it out. What is the top accomplishment of a Buddhist?
I guess just to be a good person and...
No, to reach nirvana, you know that.
Well, yes, but not everyone can reach nirvana.
I know, but you want to try to ascend, right? And so it's all about yourself, all inward looking, right? To try to limit your touch with the outside world, that the outside world is dirty and it's, you know, it's kind of polluted.
I don't believe that. As a Buddhist, that's not how I was taught, and I don't think it's fair for you to argue for Buddhism in that sense because
that's
you're
what Buddhism,
not a Buddhist.
No, I know plenty about Buddhism. So Buddhism, as it's written, is that the world is contaminated. We must remove ourselves from the world, and we're going to spiritually ascend ourselves by meditation.
But there's people who don't believe in that.
Well, then you don't believe in Buddhism. That's fine. It's okay.
Of Buddhism, and they believe in all different kinds of things. Just
that's
as
fine.
There's different sects of Christianity. I'm just not in that sect.
Got it.
You know, she acts so high and mighty about how, Christians are so bad and, I'm a Buddhist, it's so much better, yet seems to completely ignore the reality that there are instances of violence from Buddhists. They do exist, all right? Even if Buddhists claim, we're peaceful, we never commit violence, all this stuff, yada, 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 cool, all right? Look at Myanmar, for instance, hopefully I'm saying that right. There are examples of Buddhists committing violence against Muslims there. Okay, and according to reports, something like hundreds of thousands of Muslims within, not that long ago, like within the last 10 years, have fled the country because the violence has gotten so bad and unbearable. And, some people in the United States have described it as an ethnic cleansing. I'm not going to make that claim because I personally don't know. But the point is, there is violence everywhere and from all kinds of religions. But with that being said, how often do you hear about somebody nowadays who goes and commits some kind of violent terrorist attack and says, I'm doing this on behalf of Jesus Christ? I can't remember the last time I've heard that. And we all know for a fact that the left-wing fake news media would be all over it if there are Christian terrorists going and committing crimes. They wouldn't let that fly for a second. Yet we don't hear about it. Why? Because it doesn't happen.
What moral way do you think society should live by? Not Christianity, so what way should we live by?
I think that it's not as much about morality as much as societal, and it's just societal needs. Like, for example, like abortion, we can't argue that, Christianity is the reason that we should not allow abortions when clearly there's both a medical and a societal need for abortion.
There's not a medical reason to kill babies, right? So that doesn't exist.
Okay, well, I have one example for that. My mother had vasoprevia, and they had offered her an abortion because birthing the baby would not only kill her And like if she went into labor, because the placenta had split into many little veins and covered her birth canal, if she ever went into labor and my little brother at the time, if he had pushed on the birth canal to exit her, she would have died. Both her and her son would have died.
Did your brother survive or no?
I want to continue with this point. So she was offered the opportunity for an
Answer is obviously yes.
abortion because not only was she the main breadwinner of her family, but she is also raising 2 kids as well already. She's the right to an abortion is possibly could have saved her life. She did end up surviving, but not. I don't think that we should limit the ability to get an abortion to other women in her situation.
Wait, hold on, time out. So your brother you know now?
Huh?
Is your brother survive or no?
Yes, he did.
Wait, so aren't you glad your brother wasn't aborted? I mean, come on.
Got him.
I don't.
What kind of argument is that? Aren't you glad your brother's not dead?
It's not that. I'm glad that he wasn't aborted.
Yes, so that's so we're pro-life. That's what we want. We don't want your brother to be aborted. Imagine how many millions other like him are aborted.
Yes, but if my mom died,
she didn't. It's not even a good argument.
Well, there's so many people that did.
No, that's not correct. I said that earlier. It only happens a couple dozen times a year, and the baby could be delivered by C-section.
People with vasoprevia have a much higher rate of death than other women who are
this
pregnant.
happens maybe a couple hundred times a year, and there's 1.5 million abortions every single year. This is on the extreme of the extreme.
If we have to take away abortions, then we're taking away from everybody, even the people who have a medical need for abortion, where the baby is going to kill them if they come out.
Again, I can grant you that, fine, we'll have those exceptions. Can we make abortion illegal for the other circumstances?
No, because
so maybe it's not about those circumstances.
No,
You're just using it.
It is about those circumstances, because when we take away those rights from everyone and we go into a hospital and there's an emergency need to remove a baby, then we have to prove that there's an actual emergency need instead of just it being an automatic right. Then doctors aren't going to be willing. You don't have a right to murder
another human being.
That's actually not true, by the way. In these states that legalize abortion up until the day of birth, for example, for health reasons, California, Colorado, New York, to name a few, you don't have to prove any kind of medical need, all right? They say the life, when it's protecting the life or health of the mother. Health, what the hell does that mean? We all know, and it's very obvious, that any left-wing doctor can just define health as being, oh, well, the woman's going to be depressed if she has this baby, so bye-bye. No big deal. Medical. It's called healthcare. Okay. And less people say, oh, well, that's a conspiracy theory. You're making this up. No, we actually have had examples with undercover journalists who've gone in and said, hey, I've got this baby. You know, they pretend to be pregnant. It is at, X weeks. It's, I'm due in a month and I can't have this baby. All right. I just can't have it. And the people at the abortion clinics will actually coach them on how they're going to do this gruesome, disgusting, and terrible process. Truly tragic and truly evil. It's also worth noting that abortion is an exceptionally dangerous procedure, all right? More so than a C-section. And what makes it especially sinister is that once a lady decides, unfortunately, to make that terrible decision not to have the child, guess what? If she has to change her heart in the future, realizes that was wrong, I want to bring another life into this world, she often can't. Nobody talks about that.
Not necessarily a right. It's just the ability to be.
So when your brother was in your mom's womb, was your brother a human being?
I mean, I don't want to argue that. I think that we could argue about that.
It's not an argument, it's a question. When your brother was in,
useful.
When your brother was in the womb, was it a human being?
I believe that on my moral compass, I believe that he was, but I don't think that my moral compass should dictate the medical needs and the societal needs of others.
Fine. What moral compass should we use to write laws then?
Not necessarily a single one. I think that everyone's moral compass is different, and that we should be able to.
Exactly. Which one should say? Let's, for example,
the one that supports women the most, the one that allows women to get medical.
Why is that? Why is that good? I mean, by what book do you reference? By some moral standard you're appealing to. What is it?
Sorry, what?
No, yeah. By what moral standard do you say that we should have health care for women? Why? What? At some point, you're basing this on something. What is it?
I think that it's not even a moral standard. It's in the Constitution. Women should have equal rights, and that includes the right to.
You do not have a right to murder another, because life is the first right. We've been through that, but I'm saying, but at some point, you say you don't want Christianity to have the moral source. So I ask you, by what moral code should we live by?
Well, I don't think there's a defining moral code that we should live by. We all
Of course
have
there is.
different-
Should we help the sick?
Well, yes,
Should we help
but
the poor?
there's okay, but my
Should
moral
we
code
feed the
as
hungry?
a Buddhist is that I should never kill an animal. And many Christians hunt. Many people, you know, kill animals for a living. That's how
I'm
they
not
make
talking
a
about your
living.
personal. Society has to make decisions, right?
Yeah,
So-
and when society makes decisions, they should account for the fact that everyone has a different moral compass. If we're a society that, first of all, a modern society, we shouldn't be basing our moral compass
Oh,
off
but hold
of
on a
a
second.
book
You're
made thousands of years ago.
Well,
Notice how deleting a baby, it's okay, you can do it, go ahead, it should be totally legal, you're backwards if you don't believe it. But eating an animal, oh no, that's a problem, that's bad. These leftists are so confused, all right? They don't have any kind of consistent moral standard whatsoever. Or maybe it is consistently anti-human. I don't know.
well, first of all, Buddhism's very old too, but contradicting.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
That's why I don't think Buddhism.
but
I don't think we should ban people
there's a
going out to
contradiction
hunt
here, though.
because
Time
I
out.
don't believe in killing
At
animals.
some point, we have to decide what laws to make. We have to say something.
and I think the laws should be dependent on
what?
how we can most benefit the people already existing in our society.
But okay,
Or-
but don't people in the womb exist?
That's you could argue that for so long. I don't think it's really useful when
It's
we're
very
talking
useful.
about.
Are you glad you weren't aborted? Are you glad you weren't aborted?
I'm not. I mean, if it was something that if aborting me would have benefited my mother far more than having me would have, then I wouldn't be necessarily angry about it. You know, like, it's not.
See, I'm glad your mom did not abort you because I think life is beautiful. And I want to give that gift to as many people as possible.
Yeah, but you're also.
She wouldn't be angry about being aborted because she wouldn't even be alive to feel the anger. So, not the best argument.
So, in the same turn, taking that gift away from women. If a woman has a medical need and her life is in danger,
I've already
for
granted.
having this
Let's say
baby.
abortion is legal for medical circumstances. 1.4
Okay,
million.
but then when we get rid of abortion for those exceptions, right, we need to think about how it is applied in the actual.
Abortion is the #1 form of birth control in the country right now. Over 1.4 million abortions every single year for non-rape, non-incest, non-life of the mother.
It's really the #1 form of birth control in this country.
Well, that we know
I highly
of.
doubt
Actually,
that.
if you think
I'm
about
sorry,
it, if you
that's
think about
crazy.
the day after pill.
That's crazy.
Right? If you think about the
People
day
are spending
after pill.
$50 for a abortion instead of, like, you know, the pull-out method, getting a condom. You really think, I'm
Hold on.
sorry, in your twisted worldview, you really
Hold
think
on, let's
the
think about
#1
it.
form
Plan
of birth
B.
control is abortion?
Plan B.
I'm sorry, that's crazy.
No, Plan B, right? Abortifacients, at-home abortions, chemical abortions,
Trigger.
surgical abortions. All of those can be defined as abortifacients. Yes, you might be right. Okay, you might say condoms are more than that, but abortion has become a form of birth control. Can you agree with that?
I mean, anything that. Well, all of it, obviously, anything can be considered birth control. I mean, me deciding to not have sex is birth control. I mean,
And that's what more people should do.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't think that that's necessarily something that we can police. Like, what, you're going to go into people's
I'm
bedrooms
not policing,
and, like,
but I'm saying though, if you're gonna decide to have sex, don't kill the baby after you have sex. Pretty
Well,
simple.
I don't
Because you
think
made a
that-
decision to get pregnant.
I don't think that that's necessarily a good argument. I mean, there's more nuance to that.
There's no nuance to it. A human life exists. I can't murder someone in the crowd. Why? Because murder is wrong. You can't murder someone in a womb. Why? Because murder is wrong. Thank you for your time.
It actually can be policed, okay? It's called having decent father figures in the home. Oh, that's a little controversial, isn't it? But it's true. With all that being said, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. As always, folks, comment below. Let us know what you liked about the video, what kind of stuff you want to see in the future, and hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you again soon. God bless.